Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. I left you for 7 long days without a video, but that's all right. I'm back now, and we got a lot to cover, to include maybe the most important thing, Orlando Brown Jr.'s contract situation. Will he be back with the Chiefs long term, or perhaps his days are numbered with the team?
Touchdown! Kansas City! One of the greatest duos in the history of the National Football League! Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce on a push-fade comeback, and the Chiefs have won this incredible divisional playoff game in overtime.
All right, guys, thanks for coming back to the channel. I really appreciate all the support I'm getting. It's amazing. It's awesome. Love it. I know, I know I left you without a video for 7 days. I apologize. Let me explain briefly what was going on. For the last couple weeks, we've been in the absolute heart of our off-season training program for my high school football team, and it takes up a large majority of my time. We're doing great. We're making progress. The boys are wonderful. We're also working a fundraiser event where we go and work at a fireworks stand selling fireworks to raise money for the football team, and I've been doing that. So plus, normal life stuff that comes up in our personal lives. So there's a lot going on. So that's why you didn't get a video for the last 7 days. And to be honest, there wasn't a ton to talk about either. If there was something big that had happened in the last 7 days, I would have made the time to make a video. But it's kind of the dull, lull time of the season, and that's okay. So next week, if anything should happen, I should have plenty of time to make videos. And then we'll get back to camp. We're going to have our camp coming up pretty soon. I'll get busy during that. But I'll make sure I make time to make videos when anything of significance happens, so don't worry about that. I wanted to start off today's video recognizing a man for his heroism. You probably already know where this is going. It's the 29th of June. If you're a Chiefs fan for any amount of time, you know every year on the 29th of June we celebrate Joe Delaney and his sacrifice that he gave for 3 young men. If you're new to Chiefs Kingdom or you just never heard the story, I'll tell it briefly. Joe Delaney was a very young man. He was 24 years old. He had been in the league for 2 years. He had had great success. He was a rising star in the league. Great, awesome running back. He was at home in Monroe, Louisiana during the summertime. He had some nice, he had a nice little 2-acre man-made pond on his property. He had a wife and 3 daughters, and he noticed 3 young men that he didn't know in this man-made pond, and they were struggling. And let me read you the quote that is essentially his last words to his wife. "I can't swim good, but I've got to save those boys. If I don't come up, get somebody." Let that sink in for a minute. When he said that to his wife, he knew there was a good chance that he was going to drown trying to save those young men, and he did it anyway because it was the right thing to do. That kind of bravery, sacrifice, and courage deserves recognition year after year after year after year for as long as we remember it, and we should always remember it. Unfortunately, 2 of the boys also perished with Joe Delaney and drowned. One of the boys made it out. Just a tragic loss of life for both the 2 boys and Joe Delaney, and they all 3 had a long, beautiful life ahead of them, and it was taken from them that day by the water. And it's a reminder, number one, to be safe out there. It's also a crazy thing to think about, and if it seems like I'm thinking really hard, it's because I am. I'm considering whether I would have the courage to do that same thing right now. I live by a lake. Would I do that right now if I knew there was a really good chance that I was going to die? I hope the answer is yes. I hope it is. As you guys know, some of you guys may or may not know, I spent 20 years in the military. I agreed to sign up for giving up everything up to and including my life when I signed that contract, and I certainly deployed and sometimes did some very dangerous things and all that, but I still consider those type of things because my life is good right now. I'm retired. I'm doing a job that I love, making good money. I don't really need a lot in my life. And I got a long life ahead of me, I hope. But could I feasibly give all that up for 3 young men? I would think my answer is yes, and I hope that it is. But that's how big the magnitude is of what Joe Delaney did. He gave up everything just to try to save those 3 boys. So take a moment today, reflect on that. Reflect on if you could do it. It's a great, amazing story of heroism. It's a tragic story of loss. And I like to consider it every year. So there you have it. We'll move on from that. Next story on the schedule is Chris Lammons. He could be facing a 6-game suspension due to his interaction with or his actions during the whole Alvin Kamara Las Vegas thing when they got caught up for an assault case. If you're tracking it back then when it happened, lots of people that wrote stories about it mentioned that if this all goes through, it could be a 6-game suspension for him and Alvin could get even more. And this isn't a surprise, is what I'm saying. But it recently came up in an article, and let me see, make sure I'm crediting the right people. Chiefs Wire wrote an article about this today. Charles Goldman. I read the article. It's worth a read, especially if you're interested in this. I'm not too terribly worried about it. The story online is basically saying that perhaps this works in the favor of the Chiefs and they can stash Chris Lammons for later. I don't know if that's a thing, but I don't know if he even makes the roster. However, it's possible. And they gave him the opportunity to do so. So we'll find out. That is kind of what it is. I don't have a lot more to say about the whole Chris Lammons thing. Let's find out what happens in the court. I always like to wait and find out what happens with due process. And then after that, we'll probably know more about what happened and we'll know what the court did. And I think the NFL should base their decisions more off of what courts do. Because if you're found not guilty and you still get suspended by the NFL, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me in most cases. So that is the Chris Lammons story. We could be losing him soon for 6 weeks. There was a couple other things I found on the internet. Not so much a news story, but Mitch Holthus is being inducted into the Missouri Broadcaster Hall of Fame. What a storied career Mitch Holthus has. He appears on a lot of the late night sports shows and the top 10 plays and all those kind of things. Whenever the Chiefs do something great, a lot of times they're going to play Mitch Holthus calling that call. He's my favorite guy to listen to when I'm listening to a Chiefs game. I love to turn the volume down on the TV, turn the radio volume up, and sync the game up to the TV and the sound on the radio so that it sounds like I am getting to listen to them guys call the game. And when it was Mitch Holthus and Lynn Dawson, that was just amazing. And not that I don't like who is it now? Is it Lake Dawson? It's one of our old receivers. But anyway, not that I don't like the job that the guys do now. They do a great job. But just when it was Lenny and Mitch, it was just like, wow, that's amazing. And of course, I have him on my intro and all that. It tells you that I like the guy. But he went into the Hall of Fame, and also it's his birthday. So happy birthday, Mitch. And the last thing I think I'll talk about is the Orlando Brown contract situation. So some of you may be getting nervous by now. He's only had an agent for about 19 days. So it's not time to panic. And I saw an article on Fansided. What is that? Arrowhead Pride or whatever? Yeah, Arrowhead Addict. So on Arrowhead Addict, there was a article that came out by Matt Connor, and they talk about Orlando Brown Jr. and how the silence between Orlando Brown Jr. and the Chiefs is likely a good thing when it comes to the progress of the new contract. I tend to agree with him. It's not like Orlando's out there talking about move me or saying crazy stuff on Twitter or anything like that. If he's quiet, it means they're probably pretty close to a deal. I would expect that deal to be done by the deadline, and I am not truly worried about this at all. And I know that there are people out there that are. I know that there are people out there saying, hey, let's get rid of him, let's move him, let's trade him. His trade value is not going to be high right now. Plus, we would take a pretty big cap hit, and we would have no left tackles. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me to trade him. So those of you that are saying that, I think you're delusional, with all due respect. Because everybody knows you can say whatever you want as long as you say, with all due respect. Anyway, I think it's completely nuts for those people that are saying that, oh, we can't get Orlando under a contract. Yes, we can. We absolutely can get him under a contract. Absolutely are going to get him under a contract. Orlando Brown Jr. is not going anywhere. That wouldn't make any sense. So we will see him. We will see him sooner than later. I would think that they will 100% get that knocked out before training camp. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, guys. I'm pretty tired. I'm going to leave this video a little bit short, and I'm probably not going to do a ton of editing, to be honest with you. Just want to get it pushed out there to you. So thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for subscribing, those of you that already did. I appreciate you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.
Close the match 'cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you.